Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Pairpoint Park Stakeholders Advisory Committee meeting. I am Steve Jones. I am the chair.
Amanda Kelly.
Keith Whitehouse.
Mary Teagle.
Dawn Jelly.
Ann Hohenberger.
And joining us online is...
Hi, Jen Martell.
Jen. Jen, where are you?
I am in my at my office in Boston.
Okay, the Boston office.
Correct.
Welcome here for votes that require a motion and,
So any vote will have to be taken via roll call.
yep, so we'll
Yep.
take by roll call, and
And
we'll go quickly.
Jen, are you alone in the room?
Jen,
I'm kind of in an open office space, but I have headphones on, so no one's listening.
Okay, thanks.
public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no other, Dawn, you are elevated for the remainder of this meeting to a voting member status, since we have 2 members absent. And if both should show up, I will ask you please to step down to a non-voting status. Now, when it comes to the design discussion, all votes will be non-binding, and so we will not take roll call votes.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you very much for being our alternate. Minutes.
I move they be approved as presented.
Second.
There's motion on the table. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 We
Aye.
need a roll call vote. So Amanda Kelly,
Aye.
Keith Whitehouse,
Aye.
Dave Short.
I wasn't here.
Abstain.
Okay, abstain. Mary Tagle, good point.
Yes, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Hold on.
Don Jelly?
Don Jelly, yes.
Ann Hohenberger? Aye.
And Jen Martell?
Aye.
Okay. Steve Jones, aye. The ayes have it. They're approved. A rapid review of our materials that we've collated to date, starting with the primer, which is just informational on what is an architectural program, what's its benefit, what's included in an architectural program. The bottom line is that we have all the elements, either now or very shortly. So we will have an architectural program by May, and it'll be fit to send off. Okay, thank you very much. Next item is the relationships, and yeah, there we go. Relationships, that is new as of this afternoon. You have a copy? Yeah. So the history, I'm so sad that Bill Campbell is not here. He very carefully wrote out a very inclusive, exhaustive history. I found it very helpful. Thank you, Bill, for your time and your efforts. Next, our neighbors. This was all just reading, except for the neighbors was not available at the time of initial release of the packet. There are initial thoughts from Elliot Berkowitz and from Jason and Edna. What is their last name at the Chocolatier? The owners of the Chocolatier. They both have initial thoughts. They have constraints. They have thoughts on park design. I leave that to read, for you to read. There does not appear to be anything there that significantly will affect our design direction, questions, and discussion. But if anyone has any comment on that, speak now, please.
I have a question. The Chocolatiers
Yeah.
mentioned their foundation is in bad shape,
Yes.
and they have, I think, 3 feet easement?
Mhm.
Is that about right? If they're going to do some serious foundation work, they're going to need greater access, and they may have to go down deep enough to do new footings. So it has bearing on
It does. It
what
does.
we might do when.
I think that is a question essentially for town staff to address at the appropriate time. Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to know if he has a time frame.
Yes, and I leave all such discussions to be between him and maybe his wife, who might be a co-owner. Hello there, Dave. And the town.
Dave? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, not us, not for us.
Yeah.
Next page, other committees, this you already know, and other departments. This is what we already know. Dawn, this may be some of it news to you, but this is from old emails and releases. So that's the relationships. Voting. This is very interesting. So the voting results, voting here. Why the dog? Just because it was a cute thing. So allow me to point out that our voting last session creates a series of preferences that we prefer one goal more highly over another. That's essentially what the voting means. And I listed them in from highest to lowest. History takes the top honors among goals, honoring early inhabitants, something to do with native people, history. The so-called uniqueness of the place ties with inclusivity for a goal. Next, low impact, a natural environment as much as possible. That got a lot of votes, which is akin to or allied with environmentally sustainable, and then economically sustainable. Now, this does not mean that politically, financially feasible, or mood are not important goals. It just means that they don't rank as highly in our estimation. Whoops. Requirements. This one has an overwhelming favorite, universal accessibility, followed by it has to be economically possible. So funding and fundraising, those are requirements. It doesn't mean that maintenance, community, and design are not important.
Thank you.
It just means that we didn't rank them as highly as those first two.
And may I make a comment about that?
Yeah.
Steve and I took the sheets that you prepared, and Dave and Keith weren't there. We had 4 sheets, I think, or maybe 5 on the wall. And people put their comments with Post-it notes, and then we followed around again, and each of us put a dot, meaning this is important or that's important. And I just want to point out, and I'm not quibbling with you, that we ran out of time, and so these last 3 things were on, I think, page 5, and they got a little bit of short shrift, which is fine. The only thing I want to say is they may have a little more importance in the final run than here. And I just wanted to say why they got, that's why they didn't get so many votes, because we ran out of time.
Yeah. Voting is only so good.
Right.
But it gives us an indication of, there really is an overwhelming desire for universal accessibility. That is what I would take away from this. For features, not surprisingly, landscaping takes top honors, whether it's hardscaping or plants. Art, interestingly enough, let's just silence this. Art, interestingly enough, got a lot of votes. Swings, the next tables and seating and maintenance got our next votes. Overlook doesn't mean it's not important. Educational opportunities doesn't mean it's not important. And human activity support, again, all of these may be important, and we likely can do all of these things. But it's just the relative ranking. I suggest that we focus our attention on landscape, art and swings, and the rest will follow. Sketches and designs. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Okay. Sketches and designs. I have each one here, and you will pardon me ahead of time, please. Each of you spent time thinking about your sketch and put effort into it, who submitted sketches. Thank you, all of you, whoever you are. It's good for a variety of reasons, and I will not do them justice. I cannot do them justice, but I am going to summarize very quickly, and I'm going to ask that the author of a sketch hold comments until I go through the summary, and then just make sure that I'm basically on track. And this is starting with Anne. Thank you, Anne. So what I took away from this, and I'm going to, in each situation, I'm only going to focus on salient differentiators, things that make these drawings different from others. And what makes Anne's different from some is the single entrance and a low hedge fencing, and then a black metal fence down by the river. There are a lot of other elements that you have, Anne, that are in common with other sketches. So I'm skipping past those, but those are differentiators that will be important questions. Now, Anne, I don't know who made Anne queen, but she got 2 sketches. She got a second sketch, which was she thought about, instead of last fall, this was after our January discussion, and she put in a deck over the river. But other differentiators are the safe artwork. You brought that out.
Yes.
Whether it's safe artwork, whether cultural, historical, or otherwise, that was a key point. And that history could be incorporated via plaques, educational signage. And did I do justice enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dawn,
Yes.
thank you for your, it's not a drawing, it's not a drawing.
Advance.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Digital.
Keeping me on track.
Digital. It's clip
Digital.
art.
It's clip-
What?
yeah.
It's clip art.
Yes, exactly. Clip art. Oh, well, it's beautiful. So the things that leapt out at me were the art, first of all. You had a specific piece of art in mind, which is an alewife, to highlight the importance of the river. But you also highlighted the historical journey
Yes.
that one could take from indigenous peoples to present. And there's another key feature, which I believe Anne and Dawn have in common, is that, and we'll talk about this later, so please don't go here now, but I will raise it, that they're level with the sidewalk, which means they'd likely need to be raised at the river's edge, filled. So, to reduce the grade to be truly universally acceptable, and you'd have to raise the river's edge. That's a key point. Dawn, did I do that justice?
Can I just So the story is both the history of Exeter, but with the ecology of the river as well, and how we dam the river. And basically, the title is the Alewife Run, and it's based on those enormous sculptures of alewives. As we walk down the river, we're going to see those tangible alewives representing the town on our seal. So yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Steve Jones submitted a sketch, but it hit the shredder, which is just as well, just as well. The key points here are the sidewalk side is natural terrain, and the river side is decking. And the decking would have ramps and could be two-tiered. That was the key point there. Next, that was this. Amanda, well, your sketch. The key differentiators here are is that you have an, in contrast, I think, to Anne, you have a single entrance, which is a steel arbor. And decking, it appears, from midway.
The whole way.
The whole way, so this is all decking? That's all decking?
Those are lights
Yes.
here.
Just
All
like
the
I
way.
did. I had
Yeah.
the same thing.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That was
So the
a
decking is
steel arbor.
Okay.
from the sidewalk to the river. The little zigzag is lights.
Okay, so decking the whole way?
Yes.
Okay.
And those are cutouts for trees.
Okay, cutouts for trees, here, 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 here. Maybe something here, ferns, whatever, fire pit, water feature,
Yeah.
yeah. And lighting along the path.
Above.
Yes,
Way high.
yeah. Now, does this have a path?
No, it's all an open deck.
Okay. Does it have a pitch?
Nope, straight
It's flat.
from the sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you. I couldn't understand that, but
Yeah,
thank you.
I did it in about 8 seconds, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Interestingly, you, at the river's edge, you had a rope mesh seating
Yes.
and hammock. So
Yes.
that's a differentiator. Did I fairly represent you very
Yes.
quickly?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Jen, your design, thank you very much for your sketch and your explanation. What I took away in reductionist speak is that you had 3 parts to your design: a threshold, a path, and a deck. And you described them in full. I leave that for people to read. But that is, you know, your threshold. You have something that approximates a roof over an entranceway, and the idea of a sort of cafe-style seating along the sidewalk, and then ramps down to decking by the river, with more natural landscaping on the west side and the east side of the chocolatier and the cornicello side. So you have some mixed decking and non-decking. Does that accurately describe, Jen?
Yeah, mostly. I think the idea at the threshold is that would be more of a trellis type structure, something open, but just to create a presence along the street to sort of fill in that gap tooth effect that's been created by the fire. Kind of have something there with a little bit more of a presence than just, a small opening.
And I note that you have a fence along the street. So that's in common with Anne.
Yeah, and I like the idea of a hedge instead of a fence too. I thought that was really, I think it could be that.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Mary, very detailed drawing and detailed write-up. What I took away was that this was several things, but perhaps the most salient for me was that this was an engineering approach that emphasized ecological impact and low-impact design with native plants and shrubs, lightly graded, water retention goals. All that was in there, and you can read the details. You too have a fence along the river's edge. In fact, you have a fence most of the way around.
Oh, those are the original, that's a boundary line.
Boundary line,
On-
okay.
on-
It says fence in your drawing, but yeah,
sorry.
never mind. You get to amend
It's
now.
a hedge.
It's a hedge, okay.
And on the other side are the people's easements.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries, you get to amend. What's interesting is that you made reference to food truck parking out front. I believe that's a decision that we can make later. We don't need to make that right up front. Okay. And then you had additional elements or features, bike rack, drinking water station, a dog poop station, things like that.
Ask a question about this one?
yeah.
Is this a slope?
Yes, I followed, well, I'll just explain it. The winding path is basically the winding path that Jen developed early on, and I take it to be.
Actually, that would be Elliot and his wife Nancy
Oh, okay.
developed.
So it's conforms with ADA slope regulations, and the terrace at the top and the bottom are flat. The terrace in the middle are flat. They're like way stations. And there's no pavement, there's no wood. It's all natural drainage, and there is a way to build it so it won't erode or cave in.
Yeah. Keith, you gave a design which was similar to mine in that in quality, which was.
I drew this for him.
Oh, did you?
You're on the phone.
That's right. Keith,
My scribe.
I like your
Brian.
quality of design.
So
But what's
basically mine's
important?
a pier.
Yes, yours is a pier with a center area that is for trees.
Is it
No,
on
or-
the slide?
It is.
Oh, the next one.
So
Oops,
That's
oops.
Jen's.
There we go.
basically, sum it up, it's a pier, and the right-of-ways are still on both sides, and it's benches running down, and I'd like it to jut over the river, so that you can look both ways, and maybe have a smallish type of.
Keith, could you speak into the microphone? I can't hear you.
Sorry, Jen, how are you?
Thanks. Good. How are you?
Couple of smaller trees that would stay small, and really benches and seating, and something that goes out of the river. So pretty much, kind of a pier with less is more type of situation.
What's the rectangle in the middle?
That's
Cut out for trees.
cut out for trees.
Some plant,
Cut
yeah,
out-
just like
yeah.
a,
Like on the,
like a well,
Oh,
Yeah.
It's not
okay, and the
whole-
X's are tables?
Yes.
The X's are tables.
Thanks.
Yes, yes.
Benches along the sides.
Gotcha.
So we have 35, we have half an hour, essentially. Let's go as fast as we can, but not go so fast that we skip any important detail. Through these design questions that I have written up, these questions are my questions. They're meant to get conversation started. I hope I didn't leave anything important out. So let's get started. I believe that let's start with the easy stuff, number 1 and number 2. Features that we all put on our sketches, we all have in common. And I don't believe it's not up there. So,
go to the Google Doc.
oh, it's the Google Doc, that's
Yeah,
right.
And then I can do it as you go.
There.
Thank you. Beautiful.
We have, features that we have in common are gardens, trees, fixed benches, whether long or short, tables with chairs, and a universally accessible either ramp or path or way. So, do you agree with that statement that we all have those elements?
No.
Nope? Okay, what do you not?
I don't have fixed benches.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify for my personal self that path or ramp seems like it's a portion, whereas mine is 100%. So it's not a path or ramp, it's the whole thing.
Yep, okay,
Same.
okay. So path or ramp differentiates, okay.
And I don't have any gardens. Just
You have-
just like a
you-
tree,
you
just
have
like,
trees.
I'm
Yeah, I don't
thinking
have any gardens either,
a
except trees.
center tree, a couple of center trees in the middle, that's all, not necessarily a whole garden.
Okay,
Me too.
or,
So strike-
okay, let's open it up for discussion. How do we feel about gardens and trees?
Well, we all agree with trees, I think.
We all agree with
Is
trees?
that true, that everyone wants trees of some kind, a tree or trees?
Jen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yes. okay.
Yeah, definitely yes, trees.
So
Yeah.
trees is yes.
Trees is a yes.
Quantity and size to be determined.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And benches, whether,
Well, we have tables with chairs, it seems like, is everybody a yes on that?
Yes.
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 And I believe that, actually, okay, universally accessible, and let's stop there. Whether by ramp or by path or by other means.
To me, it doesn't mean universally accessible if it's only a piece of it.
Okay,
So then it would be accessible.
accessible, but not universally.
No.
Okay, yeah. Dev?
I don't know if we need to be splitting hairs at this point about the benches, the tables, the chairs, but for me, it's like accessible seating and like some kind of tabletop thing. I don't care what it is, as long as anyone who wants to sit could sit, and people who want a place to eat or work on a laptop, whatever, could.
I'll change it to seating, that way
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
chair. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
cool.
Very good, very good.
Question,
So are we
Yes.
taking universally off and just making it accessible, or are we keeping universally accessible, which had 10 votes?
For the seating, for the tables with chairs, that's accessible seating. And then the universally accessible path or ramp or deck is a separate issue. Dev, did you have another point?
Separately, I'm asking for clarification. Features common to all the sketches. That's what all we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Okay. So at some point does art come in?
It comes in later.
Okay. All right, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm still hanging here.
Yeah, go ahead.
What happens with gardens?
You bring that closer to you.
Oh, we've
Well,
gardens is the first
yes,
item
yeah.
there.
We
and
haven't decided.
Okay,
No.
so please remember that when we get to
Well, we'll
it.
decide it right now,
Okay.
because we're just ripping through this.
When I say
Just so everybody can look, as we're going, I'm making the edits, so that's just everyone keep looking up.
Oh,
and
okay.
making
And
sure
to
we're on
make
the same
sure-
page.
okay.
And
'Cause
thank you,
we did
Amanda.
not, two of us did not agree with that gardens were common to our sketches, so that has now been removed from this section, and we'll have to go to another section later.
to plug it in.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's not common to all sketches anymore, so that is gone.
Okay,
So is fixed benches. It can come up later, but is gone now. So the only thing that's left to talk about in this three things is, are we going with universally accessible, or are we going with accessible?
So that is a key question.
clarification of
Yes.
terms. To me, universally acceptable means all disabilities.
Yep.
I think as we're talking about it, do we mean that, or do we mean 100% of the park is accessible?
Good question. My preference from what I want, the way I designed it, was 100% of the park was accessible. That's why it's flat, and it's one grade. I think that's what Keith's was.
That's correct.
Okay. Does anybody else have it as 100% accessible?
I do.
I do,
Okay, so I'm gonna,
except for the gardens, but
yeah.
Yep.
So, well,
So that would be not 100%?
so yours is not 100% accessible.
I
So
don't
that's
think
not-
mine
No,
is either.
no, mine would not be 100% accessible because there would be some elements that are gardens
Yeah.
or elements like that.
Yeah, I think gardens is okay,
Yeah.
because nobody's
Gardens.
walking in a garden.
No one's
That's
already- yeah,
accept-
okay,
That's
see,
not
yeah,
an
yeah,
expected
yeah.
accessible area.
Okay.
then I,
But all of the places where a
Would be the
person could
stairs.
walk,
Yeah.
yeah, and it wouldn't be like, there wouldn't be stairs, there wouldn't be There wouldn't be places
So-
that you could go that somebody in a wheelchair couldn't go.
Like a ramp that was too.
I would propose that we eliminate the word universal in this E statement,
Yep,
and instead say all paths and terraces or decks will be,
well, I think that just becomes another thing. So right now, we've all agreed with accessible, and I'm gonna pop it down for later to talk about what.
okay,
what
so
that
I
means.
would propose, accessible to me means universally, whether
Okay.
it's mobility or
So we've gotten that
visual
one
or-
done.
So let's get rid of the word universal. Oh, you
I
did?
already did it, Mary.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Look up.
thanks.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
moving on.
okay.
She is quick.
Look at two
Yes.
things at once.
Okay.
Yep,
All right, surface level with sidewalk. I believe that everyone's sketch, Jen, correct me if you're wrong about, if I'm
I
wrong
heard-
about
I
your
saw
sketch, but I
Jen's
believe
shaking
that
no.
everyone's sketch starts off of the sidewalk, and there's no cut down, there's no,
Mary's is slow.
Oh, no,
Very-
mine's terraced.
it's terrace,
there's
but
a
it's not
traver-
immediately at the sidewalk.
Oh, it's on grade
Yeah.
with the sidewalk
Yeah,
at the
yes.
beginning.
So all the sketches are level with the sidewalk at the beginning.
I think you should say on grade.
On grade? Certainly. Okay. So English is, seriously,
That's the, that
Yeah.
would be the engineering or architectural term.
yes, yeah, yeah.
It's I think
yeah.
flush
So,
would be the proper term.
So sorry, what's the proper term?
Flush.
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 Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
it's changed again.
So my choice of words is not meant to insult anybody. It's
not.
It's.
I knew exactly what you
yeah,
We know that.
Yeah. I am not an English major.
Okay, so I'm confused,
Yes?
which is a good place to be sometimes, you
Yeah.
know? To me, the entire surface, I'm confused. So there's about a 5-foot drop from the street to the bottom.
It's more
And-
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you do the highest to lowest. Surface, does that mean it's confusing?
Well, let me clarify.
Okay.
So we're all set with 1 and 2 for the moment. We've got
Correct.
some elements that we're moving down to discuss later.
Correct.
Surface, what I meant by that is what is on the ground under your feet? Is it a deck? Is it ground? Is it
Oh, I'm
earth?
stuck on number 2, I'm sorry.
No, number 2, we're good on.
Flush at sidewalk.
Flush
Yep.
and sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So number 3, what's underfoot? Is it all deck? Keith and, I apologize, Amanda?
Yep, I'm fixing it now.
Yep. And this was just to indicate where you were headed. And you had a much more natural approach. And,
With 2, right?
yep, and with
But-
1.
Well,
And you had a deck on the riverside.
yes.
Can we clarify natural? Do we mean stone and hardscape?
Yeah, what is that?
Well, it would be stone, it would be earthen gardens, it would be, the paths would not be wood. I suppose that's the key differentiator, not wood.
How about I change this to the walking
Walking surface.
surface,
Yes.
air quotes?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about gardens separately.
Yeah, okay. So your walking surface, deck alone versus crushed rock, pavers,
Mine's-
or earth, yeah.
Yeah, and mine is all of the except for the garden spots. All of the terraces, whatever you want to call them, and the pathways are stone.
Okay, gravel
Okay.
stone, not,
Yeah.
not slab stone.
Any kind of stone. But it has an engineered base, which doesn't mean,
So it's,
it has drainage below it. It's kind of a demonstration
I get it.
project for on-site
Yep.
water retention.
Yes, Don?
it's just trying to
I would
simplify.
like some kind of stone that when we're doing fundraising, people could buy a stone and we could etch them. So something that would be easy to maintain, but would allow us to have a fundraising aspect of it as well.
The decking could also be laser engraved.
The day,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
So some
yes.
surface, that would be my vote.
Yeah.
And I think gravel is harder to maintain. I think stone and wood is easier.
Do you mind if I turn?
Gravel.
Well, aren't we at a
really-
perfect spot for leaving it? We have three things.
Yeah.
So we're going to hope for.
So I'd like to add
Yep.
Jen has
something to the list because we haven't talked about using like a unit paver, which would be an alternate to stone pavers. Like a concrete unit paver or a brick unit paver could also be installed in a permeable way to address the stormwater concerns. And it's also something that could be engraved. So I think that's sort of what I had pictured up at the threshold moment. So I'd like to add that to the list.
And I agree.
Okay, so we have the three, which means that these can go to concepts with Jen later. So we can go to number 4.
Exactly. This is actually a key moment.
Yes, yes.
Jan, are you comfortable with those 3 design concepts?
Yeah, unfortunately, they only show me the screen occasionally. Sometimes they show me people, so I can't. I'm not seeing the 3, but I'll make sense of it after the fact. And
Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Gravel is terrible to push wheelchairs
It's
on.
not true. I have built them.
Oh, you have that?
And I have a
Oh.
nephew who was in a
Okay.
500-pound gross, including him and
Okay.
his chair. It lasted, it's still there. I
Great.
sold the house. 10 years, there's not a single rut in it.
The Independence Museum's gravel parkway is impossible. so
People
it's
use pea gravel. It's a mistake.
perfect. All right, as long as
Yeah.
we are having superior gravel, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
it can be done in all climates.
Great.
So, I believe that the next question we come to is whether we have to fill or want to fill the lower portion of the park to reduce the grade so it really is slight or slighter than what the grade is right now. So to fill the bottom of the park a little bit to make the grade for any paths accessible, or in Keith's design, you don't need to do so much. You'll probably fill the foundation, well, you'll definitely fill the foundation, and you may fill a little bit to improve runoff and drainage, but not to the extent that you might if you had it exposed without decking. So are there any thoughts?
Well, we don't, that's perfect, how it is, because then she can make 2 sketches.
Yep.
So we don't need to do any more conversation on that one, sorry.
Well,
Necessary,
we
not necessary.
want 3 concept designs.
Yeah, and we have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's no necessity on mine for any fill at the
Okay.
bottom.
Okay.
It's on grade as it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so then we have 4. So now we can get it done.
Now, your clip art, Dawn, your clip art sketch,
Yes.
it would not be,
My clip art sketch is more about the fish and the story. Whether we have something, I do like an overlook and things like that, but I'm not voting.
Mary, the hole doesn't get filled in on your design?
Point. Show me on
The hole, the huge,
In the
huge
front?
hole. Yeah,
Yes, it does.
okay, so then
Mine
yes,
is
it's
cut and-
necessary on your design.
It's cut and fill,
Yeah.
but very little cutting. And
It's
that
still
needs-
filling in a portion of the park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try to salvage those
So
stones
it
somehow.
This says lower.
It says lower portion, you're taking that out?
This says lower.
Yeah.
lower
She's
portion.
taking that out.
Yeah,
Take that out.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Okay.
gone.
Oh,
Okay.
so, yeah, to make it flat, you'd have to fill in a portion or put up decking. That's what we're saying, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're back to 3, so we're good. Right?
Back to 3.
Back to 3 concepts.
3 concepts.
Yes.
On
yeah.
the lower,
Yep.
Yep,
okay,
Are there
so
3 concepts or are there 2?
Two.
there's 3. All deck,
Yeah.
half and half, or gravel. Some of those will be filled in, some of those won't.
okay.
Yeah. Fits naturally. Okay. Building out over the concrete embankment. Keith, this was a part of your design, and Anne, part of yours.
And mine.
And yours.
I just
So
added
allow me to, I'm going to turn in a moment to you, okay? But allow me to state right off the bat that this is very difficult. Requires getting permission and likely permits from state agencies and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to build out over the river. So this is potentially years' worth of work. It took, I believe his name was David Cowan, who owns the Ioka Theater. Cowie. Yes, thank you very much, Keith. David told me when I asked him, standing on String Bridge and looking at his structure, he said, "Oh yeah, that took 2 years to get the permits." And he's a private landholder with, for his speakeasy, has a deck on the river. So that took him 2 years with a profit motive. I suggest it would take us at least that amount of time if we could get it. Now, Dave, do you have an opinion?
Well, the Dave Cowie was a different situation than this, much different, because he owned the building and he stayed within the building footprint. So he owned it. In this situation, we don't own it. We only own to the edge of that retaining wall, to the front edge, the edge farthest away from the river. So we don't own it. I mean, we couldn't even apply for a permit. The landowner can apply for a permit. So we would have to convince the state to, I believe, apply for a permit, because they own that retaining wall.
Yeah.
And I would probably guarantee if we tried to do anything, they'd be like, okay, we'll give you the wall.
Who owns the wall?
Fish and Game, state of New Hampshire.
Okay, I was just going to ask, interesting. So if it
I would advise
fails,
to staying away from it.
if it
And
fails,
not doing
it's
that at all.
theirs to fix.
Because we don't own the land. I think we
Okay.
should stick to our property. I mean, would it be nice? Yes, it's a nice idea, but we don't own it. We don't, we own well short
I'm
of
willing
it.
to move mine to the other side. I'm not bothered.
Keith?
My preference would be to get it out a little bit over the river, but not necessarily with moorings to hold it up over somebody else's property where it just juts out. We'd have to, I'm not an expert on that, but I would say that, yeah, like some steel beams, et cetera, that were attached, before the wall and went out over it. That's my preference, but,
Maybe decking, like, or
Yeah, so beams with
walkway.
decking on top, so it goes out just a couple of feet over that wall, so that you can look both ways up and down the river. That would be ideal.
So does
Yeah.
that count?
Over the rocks.
It's going over the river.
do
it though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not our property. I mean, we'd have to
Yes,
convince
yeah,
the
it's their
landowner
rights.
to.
It's not our property.
Yeah, the state owns them though.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So does that mean?
Nothing is
But-
impossible,
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
seems impossible.
Right.
I haven't looked at the flood height there. I mean, if that's in, what zone that's in and what elevation that is. Because if you're talking about, how high does it have to be? And then the grade, where's the grade coming into that wall?
Hopefully it's
Then
better than the
it's-
2 inches on the.
I think it's very complicated for what you get. I mean, you can walk and see the river and up and down. I mean, I've been there, just, I don't know, go there, walk, and you can see up and down pretty good. I mean, I get it. You can see more if you walk out. It's just
a preference, that's all.
Yeah.
So you're
Okay.
staying with yes?
Even,
Okay.
Even-
Ann?
I did it because Keith was so fired up about it. I thought, well, I'll write that into my second plan. It sounded
But
exciting.
do you think we should
I don't have any
keep
preference.
pursuing it?
I-
You don't have any preference, okay.
Okay.
so there are some
But that still
engineering.
gives us 2 answers, so we're good.
I'll give it up, that's fine, but just saying that I would,
It would be
if you're asking
fun.
about preferences, that's my
Yeah,
preference.
and is
would
this the
attract
stage
people.
where we have to give
Well, this
stuff
is
up?
where you're deciding if you're giving it up or not.
No, not giving it.
Okay, great.
Not
Then we
giving
can go
up.
on.
We will vote in May, but we're going to show the public something after our April
Right.
meeting.
So,
So-
because the tension that I'm seeing and acknowledging, I didn't do a sketch. Like I made some Legos for a presentation I did for something else, but I'm pretty flexible on a lot of this here. What I want to acknowledge here is what the tension is for us to like be able to put something in a design to put before the public. Like, we know there are huge implications about the barriers that would be necessary to achieve things. Look, if the public says they want it, you know, I think I'm of the position that I would love for one of the ideas to represent decking that, or something that goes over the water, because I just want to see what the public thinks. Now, at the end of the day, that might not fulfill our recommendation, because we might be like, that's going to take forever and too much money. But I just want to be clear, what's the harm, if at all, in us putting it forward so that it's a sketch and a design in front of the public?
Because we're only doing 3, and if we put one that has that in it, then it's sort of boxing us towards, like, if that one gets overwhelming votes,
Yeah.
it has that in it, it's sort of boxing us in that direction. If we know as a committee that this is not a great idea to pursue, then it's kind of our responsibility to not suggest to the public something that would then take way more money, way more time, and they don't really know that. But if by us putting it in the concept, it's sort of saying it's feasible.
I agree.
But we are sort of deciding, like, thinking, is it
Right.
not super feasible? Let's not put it out there as something to
Give them a.
go after.
So this is a key moment of us as an advisory committee, is like people, the 5 people who might watch this will hear us say, this might be a really unique and this might be a unique idea that like stands the test of time to make this a new jewel in Exeter. Yet, we know that this would be a ton of money and a ton of time, and I don't know how we would do it at the end. So I'm just
Well, it's not-
recognizing the record of us
Yeah.
making this decision right now.
Not just the money and the time, but the likelihood is so slim for that amount of time. Because the likelihood of getting the state to give us rights to land that we don't own is so down in the 5% or some small number that we're weighing that all out and saying, it'd be cool, but for this likelihood to take 2 or 3 or 5 more years and double or triple or quadruple the price, we're weighing that out and we've come up with this. That's what we're having to weigh out.
And I would say as an advisory committee, wouldn't we be advising on the best options?
Yeah, not every option, but just,
Yep.
and I was 100% for
I
this.
love it.
Right? Like, I wanted this all the way along. I just moved my name.
Well,
Because I was convinced
If we
that's
put
not a
you on it,
great.
you're like a dog with a bone. You'll get this done.
I moved my name.
Confidence
I'm
in your abilities
gone.
to make this happen.
Any final thoughts from staff?
I just, I mean, any plan, you draw a plan, it should, all the elements on that plan, you should be in control of that property. You should not put a plan out to the public that shows improvements on property you do not own. It's kind of like a standard in, planning board. If someone comes in and they show them a proposal on someone else's land, it's like, no, this person has to sign this.
Is there
You don't
anything
do
to
that.
say that if we approved one plan, for example, out of 3 designs, that later on, the town couldn't get permission?
Right, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I know probably who to reach out to at the state to kind of talk about, the loose parameters of that, and I could do that.
Great.
But until that time, I would advise not showing anything.
Dave, do you have anything to add? You're giving me the Dave look. You always give me the Dave look.
and also,
No, I think it's, again, to back up Don's point is, we're here to kind of screen out things and take a laundry list of items and go through that and pick out the 3 best, in our eyes, options to give to Jen to work with. And yes, there's some things that would be fabulous to do, like cantilevering over the river. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
That's negative.
well, and there's another detail. Well, when you start to look at something, the details kind of unfold.
Okay.
With a structure of a terrace, whether it's wood or concrete or pavers, particularly if it's wood down there, right, tangent to that concrete wall, that will require footings. and they put pressure to bear on the wall. And so I just want to point out, that's why I said a draining rock terrace as opposed to a built thing. And I just want to bring it up, that when it comes time to build something, the footings could be an issue with the owner of the wall.
I think we're going to need to come to a vote. So I move that we do not include anything beyond, at this stage, in the design process or in the development process, that we do not include any structures beyond the boundaries that currently exist. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second. Do we have any discussion that we haven't already had? Amanda, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay. Keith, how do you vote?
Nay.
Okay.
Aye.
Dave, aye?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Dawn, aye.
Dawn, and this was Mary beforehand.
Aye.
Anne says aye. Jen?
I say aye.
Okay. So the ayes carry. And that was a challenging discussion. I want to acknowledge what people gave up with that. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause it is a
I can
cool
talk,
idea.
I'll talk to people. We
I'd
still
like to
have
hear
time,
what
but-
Dave's, what the person you're thinking about
comparison.
contacting has to say.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
then we-
I'll do that. I
appreciate
think I know what's going to be said, but I'll reach out and go through the steps because I could be surprised.
Well, they might say, hey, Dave, we're gonna get rid of that wall, and, whatever. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
It is important to note that it is 8 minutes before 6.
So where are we going to do?
So, what is the sense of the group? Do we go an extra 15 minutes, or do we finish at 6? If we finish at 6, we're going to close this now and move on to other matters.
We've got a second page.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm good for 15 more minutes.
I'm good for 15.
I'm good at 15.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I can go 15 more minutes.
Okay, let's move.
If we can avoid-
Engineering,
If we can
Yeah,
avoid
talk
getting
faster.
bogged down.
yes. Engineering, low-impact development and minimize runoff.
Yes.
I mean, Jen, can we just ask you, is Mary's design for this the only way to do that, or can it still be sustainable?
I mean, we can't be creating runoff. And I mean, in my opinion, I don't think we want to get into doing some heavy stormwater management, which means we should try to do low impact development and minimize runoff. I didn't see anything in any of the proposals that couldn't be built in that way. So
Okay.
So this,
So
Actually,
it's not that we have to do Mary's design to do
yeah,
that.
mine,
right.
Just that it'll be taken into consideration no matter which design you do.
exactly.
and my design does include on-site water retention.
But that's not what's in number 6.
Yeah.
So in the interest of time,
Yeah,
is
yes.
everybody a yes on what's in number 6?
Yes.
Yes.
It looks like
Yes.
around the room, great. Number 7?
Yes.
Sorry, Mary.
Yes.
That's-
Mary,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good.
I don't want to lose that
Yep.
feature because
Okay.
it's important.
Well, we can talk about it as a separate thing.
Okay.
Opening from the sidewalk. So, Jen, you had a covered plaza. Mary, you had an open plaza. Anne, you had a sort of archway. Amanda, I left out the A at the end. You had a steel arbor, but it's sort of a,
It's really similar to Ann's.
really similar to Anne's. And,
I think I would take question 7 and condense A, C, and D together.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Some kind of entrance
Covered
feature
plaza.
so
versus nothing.
a covered, yes, Jen, please speak.
I was just saying, yeah, I would agree that you can combine A, C, and D because they're all sort of alluding to some kind of covered trellis, arbor, gateway feature as opposed to,
Yeah.
you just walk in.
As opposed to an open entrance.
Then that one's
Yes.
good to go.
Exactly.
Down to 2.
Hold on.
So then-
Are we?
Yep.
Well, then the question becomes, do we want a structure at the entranceway or not?
Do we
It
have to
doesn't
do
matter
that?
because
Yes.
there are 3 concepts, so she'll put it into some of the concepts and not into the other
Well,
concepts.
Well,
maybe let's answer Dave's question.
well,
Yeah.
you kind of, doing yes or no to everything else.
Yes, yeah.
No, because yes or no to things that like, we didn't do yes or no to lots of the other ones, because she's doing 3 concepts.
Yep.
So in one of the concepts, she can leave it open, and in one, she can put an arch, and in one, she can put a plaza, and then we can like, say what do we like and what do we not like after we see the 3 concepts.
Yep.
So all we're doing right now is getting stuff down so that Jen can go draw. Does that?
All right.
Understood.
Okay, all right with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why
Natural
doesn't it have to be
elements,
yes or no?
natural
It's
elements,
kind of the stand on its own thing.
Covers a lot,
yeah.
To some degree.
Yes, it covers a lot. Natural elements cover a lot.
and we all want natural elements, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's,
So do
It's a
we all
given.
want natural elements?
I would say,
yes.
Yes.
Dev?
yeah. No
Deb,
problem.
okay. So that includes things like a pollinator garden, birdhouses, bat boxes, things like that.
Whatever
Maybe
you-
not exactly, but,
Agreed.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right.
And we could do like a concept that sort of like highlights that as part of the theme, and then other concepts that maybe highlight something else as part of the theme. So we can blend that in a way that like, it'll be a little easier to make a decision.
Yes.
Historical education and plaques.
Everybody a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yes, okay. Environmental education and markers. For example, I'm on the tree committee. Label the trees. This is a, whatever the tree is. And maybe a sign about the native birds that.
Yes,
come
the
through.
outline.
Yes, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
the on-site drainage.
yes. Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Why not?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
So I'm just confused. So when we're saying all in favor, does that mean we want to see that? Like we want to see all these things in all of the designs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. some-
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put in.
It
I'm
is.
just saying, like I think we do need to maybe decide what our priority is, and maybe we do that in the next round. But like, it's if you try to do everything, then everything becomes not as important. I think we need to decide like what is kind of going back to the exercise we did last month. Like, what is really the most important thing to us? Do we want one where the most important thing is history, and one is where the most important thing is environmental education?
I think, can we
For
say
example.
all this specifics though, not in your concepts for next month, but in like a down the line?
Yeah.
We'll do it. I don't think you need to draw into your concepts the environmental or educational markers. Maybe just draw
One.
a square that says, or a rectangle that says, this is a marker zone. We could put a marker here, and what goes on that marker we can do in 6 months or a year.
But you
Well-
could have a QR code or a few URLs, and people could look it up.
Yeah.
Everything does not have to be on a sign on the
Yeah.
Just
site.
saying, can we?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, rather than having signage, I think there's a lot of other interesting ways to incorporate these things, but
But everyone is
I worry
interested.
that we need to focus on,
Yeah.
Big picture.
I think we need to, each scheme is going to want to sort of have like a focus.
Right.
Yep.
I think.
So I'm wondering if everyone wants all of the things between historical education and environmental education, can you do a version that prioritizes one, a version that prioritizes another, and another that kind of blends them?
But I don't want our vote on the structure to be influenced and derailed by something that's changeable. So we've got 3 huge structural concepts right now, right? That's up till number 8, it was all structure. Number 8 and below are a lot more of things that can go in all of them. So maybe we need to cut it
Yeah.
at structure, stop, and then we could do the funsy stuff later.
Well, I think Jen, set me straight on this. I think those 3 elements, number 8, number 9, and number 10, can be addressed, and stop me if I'm being too abstract or rambling, okay? By the choice of materials. For example, if you want to this is just an example, it's not a direction. Historic education could be incorporated by mirroring some of the old architecture that's in town. I guess I'm talking about the palette of materials and their forms, addressing
Right, and we're not gonna
these
do
three
materials and
elements.
stuff for a while, so we'll do
So
all of
let
that in a
Jen
while.
respond to that, please.
Yeah, I think, Mary, that's kind of what I was getting at is like, I feel like if there's this historic education component, then we probably want to demonstrate that on the site somehow by having material choices or some kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what we're doing in terms of like what history we're trying to bring to the forefront. But I think it becomes richer if it can inform the design, if there is a theme to it. We can definitely just do plans based on structure, but I do think that it's important because all of these things came up during the public outreach process that we also show how we might integrate it through materiality or features or art or whatnot.
I agree. I think we need to think about a theme because otherwise we're just having a hodgepodge of different things put together.
But don't we need a 60-minute or 90-minute conversation on that, not a 2-minute conversation?
But absolutely. But I
Right,
think
so
that's,
for
that's
today, can
driving.
we cut it at structure and then we come back
Yes.
to theme?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
the
think
only
we're
other
right on
one
time
I
to do
see
that.
that's
Yeah.
structured
Yeah.
is, does everybody
15
want
minutes.
the bench swings? In all of them, or are we putting them in just some?
Are we
Adult
on
bench
number
swings.
11 now?
We're on a new number 8, if you look up at the board here. Do we all want adult bench swings in all 3 concepts or just in some concepts?
I'm missing the number.
I
So
moved
it's-
it around,
Moved it
Mary.
around,
Look
yeah.
at the, up on
yeah.
the screen.
So, up there.
I would prefer it just in some concepts. I would like to have options without it because I think it's a large fixed element that's going to take up a lot of
Agreed.
How much
cost
is
in
that
real
gonna
estate.
cost? You're at your rough estimate, Jen?
In the tens of thousands of dollars, I would guess.
Like
There's a lot. There's a big.
$50,000 or $15,000?
It depends. It kind of depends. If you do like a sort of more residential grade structure, I think you could probably do it in the 10 to 12. Don't quote me on that. The ones that you see in public parks are much more than that,
All right, so we'll just move
like
that.
25 plus.
It's not a structure to worry about right now, so we're back to these 7.
Well, so you'll do some sketches with and some without, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best bet.
Sculptural art, which goes to, it can go to education, or the same purposes of communication of a theme.
Isn't this one of the ones we need to truly sit
But
down and talk about later?
isn't Jen's charge now just to work through 7?
Maybe to leave
Yes,
this
that's
right
what I'm
here?
thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe to leave it right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will leave this right here. Jen?
It's hard to get things done in 60 minutes.
It is.
Did we do it?
Well, we're not quite done with the meeting, but we are done with
I
that
have
part.
a request. Can you send out a copy of the revised version?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
think about it at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
What do we need to do now?
Because we don't have
So,
it.
thank you very much. Jen, do you feel comfortable going off and drawing designs?
Could we recap like from a structural standpoint, the 3? Can we make sure that we're all on the same page as to what the 3 sort of conditions are that you're looking for? I think I heard all deck.
Yeah, can you give me your email and I'll just send it to you so you can look at it with us?
What are they? The 3?
Half and half, all deck, gravel and pavers, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that very well.
Gravel and
Speak closer to
pavers.
the microphone.
Gravel
Oh,
and
thank you.
pavers alone, half and half deck and gravel and pavers, and then all deck. Those would be your 3.
And are these for, I mean, I wouldn't, like, is this just for the sort of accessible zones? Like like when we say all deck, you don't want literally all deck, like you want deck with planting and there's going to have to be grade change involved and whatnot.
No, I don't believe so. I believe that all deck is all deck,
It's all deck with cutouts for trees.
cutouts for trees.
For-
And
And then how would you, but there would need to be ramps and whatnot, because you need to accommodate the grade changes.
No, it wouldn't, it would just be a pier, so straight off the sidewalk, one level deck. Just
So
straight.
I don't think that that's possible,
No.
There's things,
given the grade change, because the end of your deck would be 10 feet up in the air. You'd be covering doors.
yeah.
Like there's the door that comes out of the basement of
No,
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 Monticello.
No.
we don't, the right-of-ways that stay clear.
So
Yeah.
they would be walking under the deck almost.
They like that.
So they would have
Beside
to
the
walk
deck.
under the deck.
They liked it.
yeah.
That's what the
That's what
butter said, he liked it.
Yeah.
So there are two questions here.
Yeah.
The percentage of the land which will be built upon compared with the percentage that will have plantings.
Right.
So that's one. And then the other one has more to do with the structure and/or the materials of said built environment.
Yes,
And
yes.
so,
Yeah.
Jen, am I on it, or?
I think you're on it. Jen, did you follow?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Into the microphone.
Okay, so we have a rectangle, and a certain amount of it will be covered in some manner. And the remainder will be garden of some sort, trees, plantings. That's one issue. Then the other one is, so that's, what percentage goes to which feature, garden or walkable? And then the other one is the choice of materials and the grade. It's two different things, no matter what.
Yeah, I think to me, it's the big question is the grade.
Like, are we going to?
So when I'm hearing like all deck at one grade, that's, I mean, we can draw that.
Yeah.
I'm already like thinking about it, it's a deck 10 foot high in the air. You're not going to be able to get trees that are planted in the ground 10 feet below to grow up that high
I think
without installing massive trees. So I'm kind of already thinking through some of the issues with that. I'm happy to draw it. But I really think we need to be accepting of a more half and half,
that what?
a percentage, like Mary was saying,
What gets
solution.
covered. Yeah,
think we can
it's
plant
what
trees
gets
that way.
covered and what doesn't. Dave has something he wants to.
Dave?
Just to chime in, Jen, when you say 10 feet off the ground, are you including the top, to the top of the railing? Because the grade's about a 6 feet drop.
6 to 7.
No, it's 6, yeah.
At the worst.
So the deck, the deck, where your feet touch of the deck will be about 6 feet all the way at the end of the property toward the river.
The top of the wall
6
at
feet
the
high
bottom
plus
of the
railing.
property is at 25. The sidewalk is at 30,
31 to 32.
31 to 32.
and
Yeah,
both-
so
the
it's about
sidewalk
6
has-
feet, right?
And the
That's,
sidewalk
That's
slope.
7 feet.
Has some bearing, too. The sidewalk is higher on one side than the other as you face the river.
Yeah, there's like a foot of slope. So yeah, it's still a 6 foot. It's considerable.
Definitely
We
put
can draw it.
that hole that sticks out and grows.
I just wanted to make sure that I knew the height.
So
It's 10 feet to the
how,
bottom of the wall though. So that's, you're going to feel, when you're at the end, you're going to feel like you're 10 feet in the air.
Exactly. Yeah.
to refine it, I think, the struggle here is how much of it has plants and how much of it has some structure, whether it's gravel or wood or pavers or concrete. I think
I
that's,
think Jen draws that.
so that, the
Yeah.
slope.
Why don't we let Jen use her judgment and not try to design it
Exactly,
for
that's,
her?
that's for Jen to
Yeah.
do.
Jen, are you ready?
And then, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify on so we said one version was all gravel and pavers.
No.
Okay.
We're
walking
dealing with like three different kinds of things. The materials could be wood, concrete, gravel, pavers, You tracking? Whether that's the path, or the terraces, or the whole thing.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing is there's two versions that are sort of more, they follow the grade in a combination of materials, and one that is a deck that is all at the sidewalk elevation.
I think only one of the three followed the slope that's there. I think other people.
Okay, so what is the third one then?
Who had a drawing that wasn't a slope, but wasn't a deck?
Well,
Anne,
Anne and Dawn?
with the arbor.
I terraced mine three, the one I loved was terracing.
So it's called terracing then? Perfect.
Mine's flat.
Yours is.
Yeah, and when I say follow the slope, I mean we'll have to have a level of terracing that is involved with that. So it's not necessarily just, there'll be grading no matter what.
So it is
Terrace.
sloped.
Jen is
So we have multiple people talking at once. I can't follow.
Oh.
What, Jen, can you please speak?
I was just saying, when I was saying follows the slope, it doesn't mean that there won't be any, there would be some level of terracing no matter what. It would just be required to get the ADA path down there.
Yes.
cut and fill.
But essentially, you start at the sidewalk and you end kind of close-ish to the wall, to the top of the wall,
Yes.
is the idea.
Yeah, I think you have it.
You comfortable with that, Jen?
I'm still only picturing two schemes, though. One that follows this, one that terraces, follows the slope, and one that's the deck.
Document in front of you,
Yeah, why don't we let Amanda email
the document.
document?
Okay. And then I can follow up. Maybe I'll follow up with you, Amanda, with clarifying questions. If
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Follow-up question at this point, before we get the rest of committee business, which we'll make short, is do we need an extra meeting? And I believe we actually do.
I believe we do.
I believe we need an extra meeting. We can do it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And a follow-up meeting 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that, and then a survey. And then a vote in May, mid-May or late May. Comments on that thought?
What's the extra meeting for?
The extra meeting for is that we don't have enough detail right now for Jen, this is my opinion, to generate something that's good enough to do a survey on. And it's going to take an extra meeting to do that. That's my concern. If you don't believe that, that's okay. And you can say, we'll take whatever Jen generates next time, but I believe we need to comment on what
Yes.
Jen generates next time, and then get a second set of illustrations from Jen, and then we can do a public survey.
Question,
Yes.
is Jen game for that?
Yes, that's one question. That's it.
100%.
Jen?
I would like to propose 2 schemes for the first iteration. And then if we're going to do this follow-up meeting, instead of 3, because I'm still only really picturing 2. And yeah, and then we could do revisions on those 2 schemes, not like, oh, do a completely new third scheme.
Exactly.
But revisions on the 2 schemes. Yes, we could do that.
Okay. Jen?
And I prefer 3 weeks so that I can get
3
them
weeks.
to you all in advance.
Are folks
to
fine
review.
with meeting on Thursday, 3 weeks from now, which is April 10th?
Why not?
Are you okay with that?
Probably.
Probably? Keith?
Definite probably.
Definitely, probably.
When would the
April 10th is
next
ringing a bell
meeting
is
be
really
then?
bad.
So Jen would need time to go back and do it again, so I think another 3 weeks after that. That brings the subsequent meeting, we would be off schedule, to May 1st. So April 10 and May 1st.
Well, I don't think,
No way.
I think the revisions could be faster.
Okay.
Because we would already have the drawings. It would just be a matter of making revisions to the drawings. So we don't need another 3 weeks for that.
Okay, April 10 and April 17, our natural meeting date.
Mr. Chair,
Yep,
if you do it April 10th, you'd have to keep it to an hour because it's a planning board meeting.
I think we could. Yep.
And the other date was what?
April 17, our normally scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah. Jen, can you make revisions in a week, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, assuming that
Yep.
they're not
April
too lofty.
10, an extra meeting on April 10th. That's what it comes down to.
Question,
Yes.
if we moved it up by 15 minutes, we'd have the full hour, because the next meeting, people will want the space before we're really done.
That's
You know
fine.
what I mean?
Yep. Can you do Dev? Yeah.
I'll already be late at
This is
April
the
10th.
sidewalk.
I'll already be here at 5:15 at the earliest.
Okay.
1, 2, 10.
It's just a suggestion.
And then this one's just a
Okay.
cut.
So a meeting on April 10th and a meeting on
Much
April
easier.
17th. I'll plan on that. And I'll send out notice. Public input subcommittee, so start working, this is my request, on a draft
I already did it.
survey. So thank you very much. Fundraising subcommittee, Dawn, would you be willing to not do the heavy lifting?
Yes.
Yes. Anne, would you be willing to join Dawn and me to go to Corey Stevens?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll just understand what the town policies are for donations, the account that we would have. Amanda has a fundraising idea.
I have a bunch,
Great.
Yeah, which I think we can discuss next meeting,
if we have time.
if we have time, yeah.
Yeah, can we get some,
Nope, it's 6:17, so I can't. Sorry, gotta go home.
Okay,
But I have like 20 ideas.
Yeah.
They're pretty fleshed out, actually.
yeah. A subcommittee for communications, to prep for the presentation to the select board. I suggest Amanda and eventually Jen, when the time comes, because Jen, you'll be involved in the presentation. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's all the business. Thank you very much. Adjourned.
with what?
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning
Bye.
in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.